Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Blade Runner 2049. There are spoilers in this if you think that I can see the future. So, all right, let's talk about it. So I am a very big, I'm a huge fan of Blade Runner. Okay, so of course it's a Philip K. Dick book. Do Android Sheep Dream, and you know it's a classic film. I really think it's amazing. Harrison Ford was really amazing in it, and Rutger Hauer, I think it's the role that defined his entire career. To this day, I think watching sea beams coming through a Tannhauser gate is one of my favorite lines in any film ever. Daryl Hannah, just, as Pris. There are just so many great parts of Blade Runner. And also Blade Runner bringing William Gibson's cyberpunk work and actually turning it into a visual reality. I think that's one of the things, not a lot of people talk about that, I don't think, but Blade Runner turned William Gibson's work into visual reality. And that's pretty important. It defined the cyberpunk aesthetic, and and I think Blade Runner has its fans here in the United States of America, but man, it is hyper important to Japanese culture, which I think is pretty cool. So, and I would say that the visual look of Ghost in the Shell really owes a lot to Blade Runner. Okay. So what do I think of Blade Runner 2049? So I just watched the second trailer, the second major trailer, and I am very, very excited. It looks fantastic. I think they're absolutely heading in the right direction. One, it really looks like it's visually faithful to the first film, which is fantastic. I also really love the idea that they actually cast Harrison Ford, and I'm really curious. I'm really curious what they're going to do. So, do we find out if Decker? Oh man, I'm sorry. Like, even as I'm talking, I'm kind of like thinking about this. Are we going to find if Decker is a replicant or not? So, one, he's aging, which I'm not sure replicants can actually age, right? Now, he could have been a special replicant that actually could go through the aging process, and that could be part of the new film. So one, I'm really excited to see how they're going to handle that, right? I'll tell you right now, I think I'm going to be absolutely thrilled with Blade Runner. I guess there might be some ways they could screw it up, but even if I should be careful. All right, I'm very excited to see what they do with it. So one, there's that classic question of, is Decker a replicant? Is he not a replicant? It's really the heart of the film. It's very, very fascinating. We're going to get some more information now because, Decker, again, he's been aging, right? So that's kind of a big deal. The other reason why I'm very excited for this film is Ryan Gosling. I think Ryan Gosling is incredibly well cast in this movie. I think he's a really good selection for a Blade Runner, right? And chasing down these replicants. The other thing I'm really curious is what they're going to say about replicants, right? And one thing that I'm very happy about is I'm an evangelical Christian, right? Well, if you're trying to create human beings, that's just inherently evil. So, as strange as this sounds, I think Blade Runner actually really falls in line with the evangelical values. It's saying that if you're trying to create human beings, that's going to end poorly, and they're probably going to be horrible killers, or they will have an incredibly strained relationship with their creators, right? And that's kind of interesting because people who are, secular, they actually believe that, people's minds could one day be uploaded or that we could be put into a new body, but they see those. So that's really interesting is, like, atheists and agnostics look at the attempts to create new forms of man as a form of hope rather than a dystopian horror film, right? As a dystopian future, which is really kind of interesting. So, I'm really excited about Blade Runner 2049. I think it's, I will take as much Harrison Ford as you can put into a movie. I think he's a great talent. I think it's really cool that he is getting additional work even in his old age. I think it's great they wrote him a massive check. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, I think, he is I don't think this is a paycheck movie for him. I think he made a fortune. Harrison Ford made a fortune to get this movie done. But unlike Brando or some of these other actors, I think he is a professional, and he's going to do what he can to make this a good movie, right? And I think if you look at his body of work, he's been doing that. Even like a good example is Cowboys and Aliens. Harrison Ford was in Cowboys and Aliens, and I think he did the best job he could in that movie, and really brought a lot to the film. I think he did the same thing in Ender's Game. Like, if you hire him, he takes the work serious, and he comes correct, and he does what he can to make the film good. And I think he's going to do that exact here. But I will say, the one thing I am most excited to see in Blade Runner 2049 is Ryan Gosling as a Blade Runner. I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling. I really liked his work in A Place Behind the Pines. I liked his work in Young Hercules. I think I watched that in college, right? And when I saw him in that show, I said, this guy's got a lot of talent. I think he could be a big television star. At that point, I thought he was positioned to be a television star. I also thought he did a really good job in Drive. La La Land, man, that's a no-brainer. Like, that's an Oscar award-winning film. Big question there. Okay, but I'm very excited to see Ryan Gosling in Blade Runner 2049. I think he's extremely well cast, and you had to cast that role correctly. Decker is the heart of Blade Runner, and Ryan Gosling's character is going to be the heart of Blade Runner 2049. By the way, I don't know where Jared Leto's going to land. Jared Leto is in this film as well. I really don't think I've actually gotten a chance to see Jared Leto actually act. And the reason why was, of course, I saw Suicide Squad, but so one, I don't think Suicide Squad was the best movie. I'm not a hater. I paid my $8, and got my ticket. I don't think I was ripped off for seeing Suicide Squad, but it really was not one of my favorite movies of 2016. There was a specific costuming choice that was made for the Joker that was so distracting to me that I really couldn't even see Jared's performance. And just every time he was on the screen, it was an attempt to bring an aspect of his animated character, the Joker animated character, to the screen, and it really threw me out of the film. And so I really don't feel like I've actually seen Jared Leto get a shot to really act. And I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he was a good pick for the role in that I think he's going to take this very serious. Jared Leto's another guy. I think everybody they hired for this film, I think they all realize the importance of what they're doing. And this is an important film because Blade Runner was an important film. It really pushed film forward quite a bit and definitely pushed science fiction film forward. And I think it deeply impacted both modern and American culture. And so I'm really super hyped about Blade Runner 2049. Take care, everybody.